jump in and talk about what the future of work is. I've already been introduced, so I won't spend any time on this slide. Maybe just to mention that we are going to reveal some secrets today. I promise that we'll reveal some secrets of how some of the most successful companies in the industry are getting outstanding results for their team members and also in their profitability. So I hope that by the end of this I'll share some of that with you. I think the first secret is that Altametrics is the best kept secret probably in this business. We work with most of the successful chains in the restaurant industry, but we're not a household name. Something like 60% of all the burgers sold in the country are sold by companies that run Altametrics. 80% of all the Mexican food, which is almost all sold by Taco Bell and Chipotle. And about at least 1 out of 3 pizzas that people eat are sold by companies that are running our software today. So altogether, we do manage about 4 million hourly workers throughout all of our customers. It's a pretty big footprint. And as they said in the introduction, we've been doing this for about 30 years now. So over that span of time, we've developed and learned quite a bit of interesting information that I think has really made a big difference for the folks that we work with. And I want to share that with you guys today. Okay, so the first secret, which is hopefully not much of a secret, but I think it is a little bit in the restaurant industry, is that happiness equals profitability. And I think this is something that intuitively we all would agree with. We would assume that happier employees are going to perform better, they're going to deliver better guest service. But there's been quite a few studies done, and the most recent one is actually a Harvard Business School study, and it turns out that this is very, very quantifiable. On average, we see the clients that we work with that have implemented these, the things we're going to talk about today, have about a 30% lower employee turnover than companies that don't have healthy employee cultures where team members aren't happy. We also have seen that companies that have happy team members on average have about 12% more productive employees, meaning they're getting more work output for the same amount of labor hours as over what somebody who might not have that. And then, whoops, actually went too far. Companies with happy employees actually do have 20% higher sales. That may or may not be surprising to people, but it is quantifiable and there is a big difference. Now, if we agree that if employees are happier, they're going to improve the guest experience, the food is going to be better, the speed of service is going to be faster, and our profitability is going to improve, then the question we really need to ask is, what makes employees happier? And these are kind of obvious questions, right? I mean, the same things that make them happy are the same things that make us happy. So when we go out and we talk to people, the things that they are looking for, they want to know that they're and this is in order actually. So in order, their number one criteria is they want to know that their work is predictable. The number of hours they're going to get, as well as the hours of the day or days of the week that they're going to be expected to work, is really, really important to them. They also want flexibility, and this may sound like counter to the first point, but they are looking for the same things that we're looking for, which is when they have to pick up somebody from school or they've got to go to a doctor's appointment, they want to know that they're going to be trusted to do the right thing and that they're not trying to take advantage of anything. They want that flexibility. The third item I think is really interesting. When we talk to team members, they often say all the time that really something to the effect of, if you tell me exactly what you want me to do, I'll do a great job. I'll do an amazing job. And often what we find is that really the expectations from those team members aren't really communicated very well to them in the first place. So there's a lot of gray area around what's expected of them. They often feel like they get caught in between what those expectations are and what they think they're doing is the best job that they can do. Everyone in the world wants to be acknowledged. They want to know that the work that they do makes a difference and that it's important. And then, of course, we all want opportunity to advance. So how do we do this? I mean, obviously, we do these things. So people want more predictable schedules. We want to give them predictable schedules so that they can plan their lives and take care of the things that they need to do. Flexibility today is accomplished by most companies that we work with an employee mobile app. Trust them to request time off, schedule shift swaps, whatever kind of changes they need to accommodate whatever they have going on in their life. More and more employers are trusting the team members to make those decisions rather than have to go through a bureaucratic or sometimes what they may think is unfair process where a manager is an intermediary to do that. Clear expectations, we're going to show you how we do that, but having very clear expectations and communicating those expectations and treating people fairly is a very big deal. I think if you don't have an employee shortage issue or an employee hiring issue, then you are the exception, today in the space. Everywhere we go, every client we talk to is seeing a shortage of team members and getting ghosted quite a bit. A lot of ghosting is happening in a lot of places. We work with McDonald's. They actually did a hiring day a couple years ago where they hired 50,000 people in one day. They actually had discovered that their restaurants were understaffed. And then finally, recognizing people for the work that they're doing and giving them those opportunities is really critical to making sure those people are happy. Now, how you do this is what I'm going to cover in the rest of the secrets here. But this we've covered already. Okay, so as you've heard through many of the other speakers here, it's really important to be data-driven. A lot of times we make decisions based on what we feel is going on in the restaurant, but that's not the best way to think about what is happening. So what you're seeing behind me is actually a business intelligence platform that our clients use. And this is a way that at an enterprise level, you're able to surface all the information, all the data about your business, the performance of your restaurants, in addition to things like your sales performance and your KPIs. We're talking about labor, so this is going to actually drill into some labor information and show you how you can look at things like how your restaurants are performing from a labor standpoint. Now, you want to know this because if you're running a medium-sized or large organization, you have to know where your attention is needed and where you should focus your effort and energy. You often find that there are regional challenges that you otherwise wouldn't know if you can't compare one part of your business to another or look at the different metrics around your business. Here, the salient piece of information is the actual versus scheduled hours, which is in the last column. So that's really showing whether or not you have folks that are complying with the schedule or you're having other issues like call-outs or no-shows. Once you have this information at the enterprise level, the next step is to really get this down to in the hands of your franchise owners and your multi-unit operators. This is a mobile app. It's not an employee mobile app like an employee would use to change their schedule, to put in a schedule request. This is something that a franchise owner or an area director or a multi-unit supervisor, some form, would have with them. They would look at this. All the information is in real time. They can see their sales. They can see their labor information. They can look at their labor efficiency by up to the minute as the day progresses. What this tool is mostly used for is for that multi-unit supervisor or owner to know how to plan their day, which restaurants need their attention, and what their strategy should be to try to, where can they be most effective within the business in order to drive results. This is the latest development or innovation that we've worked on. You've heard of ChatGPT, and we've actually taken this concept. We have an Altametrics GPT, and we have extended this. So, for example, I can ask the system, how do my restaurants compare to McDonald's in the Atlanta region? And very quickly, actually, the system is going to respond. I think this is super cool. I hope you guys like it. So it'll say, well, I can't give you exact information on McDonald's, but I can tell you that in the Atlanta region, I have data for about 400 QSR restaurants. And compared to those 400 QSR restaurants in the last 90 days, your sales are 1% lower, your labor costs are trending higher, you're at 28%, which is 5% higher than the other QSR restaurants in the region, and your COGS has increased by 3%, but this is in line with costs at other comparable companies. Now, this is important to know because you could look at this and say, well, my food costs are up 3%, but maybe that's inflationary costs that's driving that. So unless you're seeing that among your analogs, it really isn't all that informative. Now, the important thing here is that we're going to call out that, hey, our labor costs are quite a bit higher than we expected them to be. So we can actually ask the system, why are my labor costs higher than my competitors? So this, of course, the artificial intelligence in the background is going through all of the data, and what it finds is very interesting. It says, hey, the reason your labor costs are higher is because you're running more overtime. But the system is smarter than that. It actually will go down and say, well, the reason you're running overtime is because you're actually understaffed. And then it will even go farther. It uses a process called RPA, robotic process automation, and it will ask you, do you want me to place a job posting on Indeed to hire more production employees? And it's actually going to go right ahead and say, okay, I can do that for you. Do you want me to screen the people as well? And it will go forward and actually, in a couple seconds here, it's going to create a job posting and then automatically post that on Indeed. And then the AI can also interview the employees either through resume scanning or actually evaluating people through a camera and give you a score that would say these are the best applicants based on all the people that are applying, and I'm going to go ahead and put them in the applicant tracking system, and I'm going to put a star next to the folks that are the best candidates for you. So all of this done completely automatically. So if your restaurants are understaffed, the system will automatically detect that, will automatically put the job posting on, will automatically interview the folks, and we'll just put the best folks right in front of you. Okay, so once you have all of this information at the enterprise level, you've made it actionable, you have to bring this down to the restaurant level. And I like to say that nobody plans to fail; they fail to plan, and that of course is a very famous old adage. But it's important to know that you have a plan for what it is that you're trying to achieve. In most cases, this takes the form of a forecast or a schedule. And the best way to think about this is that it's very hard to hit a target if you don't aim. So you have to know what you're aiming for, or you're probably going to miss your target. Again, artificial intelligence has come into this process, and this system actually automatically generates a forecast. A manager doesn't do anything. The forecast is automatically adjusted today. This is in production today for weather, temperature, sporting events like NFL, MLB, UFC. All of those things are factored in. If you're running a marketing promotion, the impact of that marketing promotion is also adjusted within the forecast. So managers don't do this. The artificial intelligence is more accurate than a manager 100% of the time in terms of what the restaurant is going to do. And if you're wondering, why is this important? What difference does it make? Our managers are pretty good at guessing what their sales are going to be. This drives all the profitability through the rest of your business. So just a small increase, not a small increase, but we improved Pizza Hut's forecast by 9%. And that 9% was $50 million for the chain that pulled through the chain. So to give you an idea, remember your food orders, your labor schedules, your prep and production, your thaw requirements, everything is driven off of this target that you're trying to get after. So if the target is off, everything else is going to be off also. It doesn't take much to compound into a really, really big number once you see that you can improve it. All right. Now, the schedule itself, the way it works, it actually takes that forecast, and everyone, I think, would get this. It's basically a chess program. It moves one piece, which was an employee, and then it calculates all the probabilities of all the other team members and makes the next most optimal move, and then it keeps repeating that function until it comes up with an optimal employee schedule. Now, one of the really neat things about this is actually one of the factors in the schedule is that it is optimized for employee satisfaction or employee happiness. So that's actually a factor that goes in. You can't create a super amazing schedule that doesn't work for the employees. It might be more profitable for the business, but you have everybody quit on you. So one of the factors that is taken into consideration is actually employee happiness with the schedule. Okay. Now, what does this look like? This is the actual little video clip here of how the folks we work with create their schedules. And it's very simple. They just go up to the menu and they say auto schedule. This schedule has about 50 employees, and you'll see how quickly a schedule is an optimal schedule is generated. And not only have all of these folks been scheduled, but the schedule has also been optimized for your labor targets, your labor percentage goals, or your sales per labor hour, or whatever other metric it is you're deciding to use. It's also optimized to match your forecast of your business. And then it's also optimized to make sure that it complies with all the labor laws so you don't have any labor violations of any kind. Mostly if you're in New York or California or Washington or a bunch of other states, this is something you can see we have no labor violations that have been created by this. And again, it's important to point out that your forecast, your schedule, this is a plan. It's not reality. And the next secret really is that you have to bring this down to a level where you're going to get the results. And profits are made and lost on the floor of the restaurant, not in the office or when you're writing the schedule. So how do you capture these profits? And a lot of people, you have to first, of course, culturally realize that the focus has to be on the operations on the floor of the restaurant. All the plans and projections and estimates are just exactly that. So the best way to do this, and the critical control point, which a lot of people don't realize, is actually the employee clock. And the clock we're going to show you, which is like kind of a thing that most people don't ever think about, is sort of this old thing that is either on the point of sale or it's hanging on the wall, is actually the critical control point to achieve a lot of these things. So the clock can be used to make employees happier. It can be used to make sure that people are complying with labor laws, and it can also be used to control your labor costs. And if you're not sure of that, or you doubt that, do this little exercise, which is if your average wage is $20 an hour, which most people are right about there today, or maybe a little higher depending on where you are, and you divide that by 60 minutes, you're paying 33 cents per minute for an employee. So if an employee clocks in a couple minutes early and a couple minutes late, that's $1, $2 per employee per day that you're losing in time. Same thing on the breaks, same thing in any number of other areas. So it's very, very easy to capture an extremely high return on investment. We think about how many employees you have in your organization and just multiply it by $4 a day. That's roughly what most of the folks that we work with are capturing. The way we do that is with this device. This is called the Plum Clock. It is deployed in every McDonald's, every Little Caesars, every Jack in the Box, lots of companies using it. I don't think it's very, very well known outside those companies, but I'm going to show you how this works. We have a patent on these emojis, so the smiley face, the straight face, and the sad face. And I like to tell people that you would be amazed at the effect that an emoji has on a young worker. Like, it's more powerful than getting in trouble with their manager. They just can't bear to see a sad face next to their name. And it's really amazing the kind of results that you see from this.
How does Plum Clock work? Let's see how an employee clocks in and takes meal breaks. Meet Amanda. She's an employee at your restaurant. She is scheduled to clock in at 8 a.m. When she starts her shift, Amanda goes to the clock. The facial detection scans her face. Her identity is verified, and she is automatically clocked in. After Amanda is clocked in, Plum Clock will display her status for various labor guidelines throughout the shift. This lets both her and her manager know if she's close to causing a violation. As Amanda's shift ends, Plum Clock displays an alert icon, and a countdown begins to let both her and her manager know that she needs to clock out soon. Her colleague Stan notices the alert and tells Amanda that it's time to clock out. As her shift is ending, Amanda heads to the time clock, verifies her identity, and clocks out. Let's see how Plum Clock helps you comply with Fair Workweek laws. Certain states have enacted Fair Workweek laws, which entitle employees to receive premium pay if an employee is required to clock in outside of their scheduled shift. Here's how Plum Clock helps make sure you follow wage and hour laws. When an employee goes to clock in outside their scheduled shift, Plum Clock will request manager approval and notify both parties that the employee will receive premium pay.
So one thing I didn't mention is the face detection. So that also is an artificial intelligence tool. It's called machine vision, and that's used to identify who the employee is. Very, very easy today and very commonplace for an employee to just text their buddy to clock in for them. So if you have any kind of clock that uses a pin or card, those cards are all just sitting right on top of the clock. And every 1 minute is 33 cents. So it doesn't take much at all for that to add up to become a very, very large amount of money. And so between the machine vision, detecting the individual, and the clock enforcing the rules, there's a lot of savings to be made by folks. And you're bringing all this down from the enterprise all the way to the management level. Now you're down to the floor, and you're implementing this at the employee level, on the floor, in real time, at the time that you're actually incurring these costs. I think that's a very critical point to make here. The clock also has this dashboard, which actually tells you minute by minute whether you are achieving your labor goals or you're exceeding them. Back in the old days when I ran restaurants myself, we had a clipboard. Every half hour we would write down what the sales per labor hour were. And when we handed the shift over at 2 in the afternoon, if we were over on our hours, we had to make it up by the time the store closed that day. We never missed our labor numbers. So that same idea is what's built into this. We're telling the team members in real time exactly what they need to know in order to make sure that 100% of the time they're always going to meet their labor goals. It's not possible to, if they're paying attention, to exceed this. Now, just in case they're not paying attention, the clock also will tell the employees that they need to do something. See if we get the volume.
Okay. Naheem, your meal break limit is approaching in 4 minutes. Amanda, your overtime limit is approaching in 4 minutes. Adam, your shift ended 1 minute before. Please clock out.
Introducing innovative AI alert system designed to ensure your employees never miss a crucial break. Whether it's overtime, end of shift, rest, or meal breaks, our system keeps you informed and compliant effortlessly.
So the clock will actually keep annoying the employee until they clock out or they do what they need to do in order to make sure that they're following your labor guidelines and you get the results that you're looking for. And astounding result. It's actually called the Happy Clock at McDonald's, and the average restaurant is saving $14,500 a year from putting this in. That's from reduction of early clock in, late clock out, break compliance, labor law compliance, minor law compliance, lots of things that this does that I didn't cover here. But it's a phenomenal results. And again, the really neat thing about this is that the manager's not the bad guy. The employees actually will tell the other employees, like, hey, you need to clock out or you're going to get a sad face next to your name. And as I said, it's really amazing how effective that is, especially with some of the younger workers. They are just sort of conditioned to respond to these emojis and this kind of feedback loop. Okay. The last part of the last secret here, the fifth secret, is if you want to be successful and you want this to be sustainable, you can't just put any kind of technology out there and expect that people are going to follow it and they're going to care and you're just going to get all of this. Because the biggest risk, of course, is adoption risk, and the risk that people just won't use it. It'll just sit in the corner, it'll gather dust, and they'll just ignore all of these alerts and all of these alarms. So the last part of this is the best practice is that you implement a report card. This is an actual report card that we have from a case study that we did. It's actually very recent. And what this report card does is it tracks, on a weekly basis, it tracks how accurately the restaurant forecast is. It tracks how well the employees are following the schedule and how well the manager is making decisions on the shift based on sales, whether they want to lengthen the employee shift or they want to cut the shift or ask the employee to take a break. And you can see actually in 90-day span, this particular case study, the customer reduced their labor spend by 30% to 24%, which is not actually out of the ordinary for a lot of folks. Okay. Now this gets rolled up into a store report card or KPI report card or balance scorecard as people call it. And here we have all the other metrics that this particular customer is using to build. Essentially, this is their incentive comp plan for their managers are built right off of this report card. So here they get a score based on their compliance with food safety, based on their labor numbers, their food numbers, and they get an overall score. And this is an actual report card of this particular customer. They're all doing very well. They all got straight A's. They actually started out with, I would say, 60% of the restaurants had F's in these categories, the way that this was weighted. So kind of bring this all full circle, you know, does happiness equal profits? Well, If our goal is to create predictable schedules, then using artificial intelligence for forecasting and artificial intelligence for building the labor schedule will provide team members with predictable schedules, which is going to improve their work-life balance and their happiness. We're going to use mobile apps for, so that if they need some flexibility in their work schedule, they can get that. Also, in terms of setting clear expectations, the clock is a real-time feedback loop. It tells you, everybody knows what a happy face, a straight face, and a sad face mean. So it doesn't require any explanation. You put it on the wall, and you really do get really almost magical results from it. And it's because you are providing people with that feedback loop, and they clearly know what's expected of them. They have to follow the breaks. They have to follow their schedule, you know, and it has a dramatic result. And they want to. They really want to. They want to know what's expected of them so that they can do a great job. Behind the scenes, there is an algorithm that will automatically deprioritize employees that have frequent violations of labor laws, so it'll start to cut the hours. And those that are doing well, it actually automatically generates an employee performance report that tells you that these are the promotable candidates based on their work performance. So it eliminates all bias and preference in hiring and promoting and recognizing people for the work that they're doing, and really levels the field so people are treated fairly. And the expectations are set out for them very clearly. And then when you wrap this with the report cards, you have the feedback loop at the management level so that everybody knows where they stand, how they're doing. And as I said, that customer went from 60% Fs to 100% As in about a 90-day span. So as soon as you surface this information and you socialize how people are performing, you see a very natural lift in that level of performance because people want to do well. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this was informative, and if there are any questions, happy to answer them. And if you'd like to talk to us, this is how you can reach me.